What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the RedBeard Outdoors podcast. We've got an amazing guest for you guys today. But first off, I'm Jonathan, your host. If you're new to the channel, definitely appreciate you tuning in. We are all about faith, family, fitness, and the outdoors. Those are the four main pillars that I strive to incorporate in my life on a daily basis, and in turn, love bringing people on the podcast. People such as Cooper that we've got today. Cooper is an amazing guy that I saw their gear as they were starting to build things out with Oryx Outdoors, and we're going to get into what their company is all about, who Cooper is, what the team is like over there at Oryx Outdoors, and why you guys might be interested in their not just gym apparel, but overall how you can use their clothing and why it is catered more towards the hunter than a lot of the gym clothing out there. So with that being said, we've got Cooper here. Cooper is the owner, CEO, janitor, everything in between of Oryx Outdoors, and now you guys can put a face to the name of the company. And let's get into a little bit here, Cooper. Who are you for people that don't know who you are?
Well, Jonathan, thanks for having us on. Again, my name's Cooper. We are with Oryx Outdoors. We are from North Carolina and have a background in the collision industry and real estate. But our hobby was always hunting, more on the East Coast originally, whitetail, turkey. But really, years back when we went out west for the first time, it changed our lives. It kind of changed the trajectory of where we wanted to go in business. So, yeah, we about 6, 7 years ago, we took our first trip out west to Montana for an elk hunt. And so it's my brother and I that own the business, Charles and I. So we were casual gym goers, right? You would go 3, 4 times a week. You get in there, you do your standard bench press, your squat. And I always like to tell people my gym rhythm was like a heartbeat, right? I'd get on 3 months like a high, and then I would have a vacation, or I was getting ready for something, and I would take 2 or 3 months off, right? And the only thing that kept me going back to the gym was an event I had, or a wedding or something like that. And that all changed when we got invited on our first hunt out west. So we obviously got online. It was like, hey, preparation is our thing anyway. So what do we got to do to get ready? Equipment, training, and all that. So we really took pride in the training side of it. And what I mean when it changed our life is that it actually kept us in the gym and growing in the gym and outside, right? Because I think when you're physically progressing, you're mentally progressing as well in every other facet of life. So that year really kind of changed everything for us. And so we found ourselves for year after year getting ready for next year's hunt and always trying to be better than I was last year, be able to cover more ground, get more elevation. Kind of set our eyes on what we wanted to do next in our business career. So that's where Oryx Outdoors kind of got started.
What's going on? Welcome back to the RedBeard Outdoors podcast. I'm Jonathan, your host, and guys, we are all about faith, family, fitness, and the outdoors. And with that being said, I want to bring you along on my journey as I go through 2025 and continued. Those of you that have been here since the beginning, thank you so much. If you are new, I would really appreciate you hopping over. If you're on YouTube, subscribe. If you are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, follow along and leave a review. It helps way more than you know. And I'm also doing some giveaways throughout this year, so you want to stay tuned for those. Before we get into that, though, today we have an amazing guest. Guys, before we get into the full conversation, I do want to remind you we are giving away a 65 millimeter spotting scope from Leupold. No purchase necessary to get entered, none whatsoever. Simply subscribe, drop a comment down below on this conversation, any questions you may have throughout the conversation, and use the link, get entered so that I can know how to contact you. We will be doing a live giveaway on that when we hit 6,000 subscribers. So no purchase necessary. Win an amazing spotting scope worth about $1,000. You are going to love it. It's amazingly clear glass. Their new Gen 2 model. Really excited about that and grateful to Leupold for giving that. That's awesome. Yeah, and honestly, with seeing things in that perspective and wanting to make those changes based on, it's hard to create a business out of a passion sometimes, and then other times it's easy. You guys seem to have done a good job at this point incorporating your passion into a business model that you guys love the gym, you love going into the gym, you love the reason why you train, and it's cool that a Western hunt is what really sparked that interest. Working with First Phorm Outdoors as well, a big thing. There's so many people, and I've learned this in my few years in the outdoors industry. The East Coast and the Midwest have so many more hunters and outdoors individuals. I don't know how much of it has to do with just the history of hunting out there or the sheer number of people versus out west. The population is just so much more dense out
Yep.
east and in the Midwest. And learning how many people are bow hunters or archers and are getting up in tree stands, and then hearing about the struggles that people have to deal with, getting in a tree stand. If you're overweight, over the max weight of a tree stand, you have to carry a double stand in. And
Yep.
then there's a story a guy told me too of a guy that he was guiding that literally almost died sitting on the ground in front of him because he had set him up kind of like a typical elk situation. I guess turkey situation is similar, where he
Yep.
was behind the guy that he was guiding, calling the turkeys in
Right.
right in front of him. And he realized the guy had slumped over and he thought he had maybe fallen asleep because he was bored, whatever. And ran up to him because he realized, he was like, he's not snoring anymore. And that guy had stopped breathing because his apnea was so bad that when his legs fell asleep, losing blood flow, to where it's supposed to
Oh
go.
no.
And he almost died on a turkey hunt. And they didn't have to hike far. It was all just from
Scary
sitting
situation.
and
Yeah.
right. And so, it's stuff like that people don't think about. And hopefully you don't ever have to deal with, being that extremely obese. But if you are in that situation, or you're simply in a spot where you want to have more years of hunting and enjoying the outdoors, and there's so much to see in the East, Midwest, West, that if you want more opportunities to be able to do that, dropping a few pounds or getting a little bit more in cardiovascular shape, or whatever it may be, that you can make those changes in the gym or going on rucks or things like that, um, will change your hunting and outdoors path for the better. You'll be able to do it longer yourself. You'll be able to share it with your kids and your grandkids and maybe even your great grandkids
Yep.
without being fearful of being the guy that fell out of the tree stand and is stuck because he, fell asleep in the tree stand or
Yeah.
wasn't in shape, whatever it is. So let's dive into that a little bit, because I get passionate about health, nutrition, and hunting and the outdoors in general. And then, of course, sharing that with future generations so we don't lose our hunting rights and privileges because people become disinterested because a little, 6-inch screen is more interesting than going out and hearing an elk bugle, you know.
They think
So,
that until they
yeah,
experience it.
exactly. No amount of fake, what was it called? The goggles you can put on and have that
Oh yeah.
realistic experience. No amount of that with elk in your face is going to be the same as an elk actually right there in a
No.
meadow that you're listening to bugle and the antlers crashing together, or the first time you bust a herd out of elk and you want to smack yourself in the face with your bow because you were so stupid, but at the same time it's so cool to hear that. It's almost like a train going through the
Yeah.
forest. Like, all of those things I want people to get more of, and I don't want your health to be a limiting factor of that. So what was it? Walk us through your trip in Montana that got you excited about, maybe there is something to training year round, being healthy, maintaining health, so that
Uh-huh.
you can enjoy that more.
Yeah, I mean, a little more in depth on that. So, my brother was building a home at the time, and the contractors, it was a father, a grandfather, a father, and a son. They were big elk hunters, and they were actually guides at one point in Montana. So, I started noticing these guys and the incredible shape they were in, right? And looking at their training style. Either way, so we had been talking to them. We were hunters, but they were different style hunters than we were, and they said you guys should go out west with us and hunt. So,
as the youth would say nowadays, they were built different.
they still are. Those guys are still some of the most in shape folks I personally know. I mean, it's unreal. And that's just, again, 20, 25 plus years of that specific style training to hunt out there. So, but yeah, so we were I think when we booked our hunt, we were probably about a little, like probably a year and a quarter to a year and a half away. And everything they told us and everything we read was that, hey, you got to be in like top physical condition. And I thought I was in good shape at the time. But, talking to them, watching, obviously got on YouTube and just spent too many hours of my life on YouTube watching these things. I quickly learned I need to really get into it. So I found Mountain Tough at the time and started doing that program, and quickly learned by just getting onto that I had a long ways to go.
Yep.
But spent about a year and a half getting in shape for it, and really did make some incredible progress because it was just a solid year and a half. And I mean, we were doing 2-a-days, a cardio session, and then, our Mountain Tough or a strength session. And so we got out there to Montana and just was amazed by every part of it, right? The hunt, the mountain experience, the backcountry experience, everything that you would get that you really can't get in any fashion over here, right? But getting on those mountains, we didn't understand what a mountain and a pack can do to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So hitting all these ridges, going up and down, it was gassing me so bad. And the guys we went with, I mean, they were putting miles on us every day, multiple more miles than us. And so it was like, okay. When we got back, I mean, it was immediate. We got back right into the gym. I'm talking 2 days after we got back. And it was like, we're going next year. There's no question. We're doing that again, and we're going to do that every year. And we're going to always try to be better than we were the previous year. So that was sort of the beginning of it. And going back to what you said earlier about, the gentleman that was turkey hunting, we're in the mountains right now in North Carolina, so we've got a lot of elevation. I mean, we're probably by crow 10 miles from the tallest peak over here on the East Coast, Mount Mitchell. So I even noticed a difference in my whitetail hunts. Just I felt more energetic. I felt, hiking these mountains, I had no issue with it. And so even the folks in, the East Coast and Central, all these public land hunters, getting in shape, I mean, it will help every bit of it. It's not just for the folks out west, which I do think the West is the ultimate test, but and I do think that most of the East Coast hunters that haven't been out west, that is a goal for them. That is like a big thing for them to get out there and do. So I just think being in shape for the hunt, and what it's done for me is it's challenged me more mentally to get better, and that all that does is help everything else that I'm doing in life as well. Getting better everywhere as a father, as a husband, other things that we have going on in life. It really just, I think it's progressed everything for me. And hunting was the core of that, because prior to hunting, again, I was in shape, I was out of shape, I was in shape, I was out of shape, and it was real no consistency. And your mental state kind of follows that physical state.
Yep. No, I would agree. There's a lot that goes into that. I mean, I remember being out in North Carolina, and we'd go up and to Grandfather Mountain, and you got the Mile High Bridge, and you felt like you're
Yeah.
on top of the world out there.
Mm-hmm.
And man, it's not like I
You
start
didn't
there.
know.
That's where I live at,
Yeah.
out here in Utah.
We didn't know any
And
better.
yeah, exactly. But the other thing too is there's only so much you can do to train for elevation, and I'm not a firm believer of the training mask that people put on, the oxygen deprivation, all that. Like that, I'm not a huge fan of that. That was a fad. I feel like has kind of gone away. But outside of actually getting out and rucking, for people that maybe don't want to go to a gym, maybe don't want to or don't have a quality gym nearby and don't have the funds to put a gym together in their garage, or proper training, man, I just say grab a backpack and throw some weight in it. Everyone's got a backpack around the house. It may not be the most comfortable. If you're looking for good rucking gear, I always recommend Go Ruck. Obviously, you can beat the crap out of their backpacks and they have a lifetime warranty. But if you don't have the funds to put together gear right now, that doesn't matter. You don't need money to get started. You've got, I'm sure, a sidewalk or something you can go walk in front of your house,
Yep.
and throw some books in a backpack. Everyone's got books that they don't read anymore laying around the house. Some kind of weight. Maybe you have a sandbag. Maybe you have a concrete, bag laying out in
Right.
your garage, and throw it in a backpack and go start walking. Right. And that's essentially one of the easiest ways to get used to the suck that is hiking with a backpack in the mountains.
I would say that if you could only choose one thing, if there was only
Mhm,
one thing you could do to get ready, that would be it. It would be put
mhm.
weight. If you can get your boots on that you're going to wear out there, if you can go ahead and get the bag on that you're going to wear out there, and if you did that every day, that would be, if you could pick one, that's what you would have
Yep,
to do, I feel like.
exactly. It's one of the cheapest ways if you do want to get some gear. Again, a weight vest or a backpack. You can do push-ups with that on. Push-ups already suck. Squats already suck. Lunges
Hmm.
already suck. You can do all of that with a backpack on, and just a little bit of weight, right? And
Right.
so it's really not that difficult to get started. It's a very low barrier of entry. You can even listen to music, some hype up music, whatever you want to do, podcast, and go for a 45-minute walk with weight on your back, aka a ruck, if you're going at kind of a higher speed than just dawdling around. And so that's what I recommend people to do to get started. If you've got a stair stepper around, awesome. If you don't, guess what? Most houses have stairs. Yes, you may look a little silly going up and down the stairs, but people are going to start asking those questions, and they're going to start seeing your results of you
Yeah.
losing weight, whatever, and your dedication, your consistency, and they might even start joining in with you. And heck, you might become good friends with someone that you didn't know before in your, whether it be apartment building, neighborhood, whatever. Um, it really is something that can get more than just simply you in shape. It can get other things sparked in your life. But if you do have access to a gym, let's talk a little bit about that and some of the training that you've noticed outside of
Yeah.
rucking that can help coming from the east or Midwest out if you're looking to do a Western hunt with elk or mule deer or both. What is some of the training that you noticed that helped you a lot? You mentioned Mountain Tough.
Yeah. Yeah. So we do, and I still dabble in Mountain Tough a lot. And I've tried, different styles, and I don't
Hmm.
know which one works the best for everybody. But I kind of switch it up. So I typically stick to, like, I like to run a lot, and then try to lift some heavier weights, right? So spend the time 45 minutes to an hour running to get that real cardio session in. It helps with your feet and your shins, all that. And then get into sort of like your old school weightlifting, maybe with a little bit of Olympic movements uh, brought into it.
Hmm.
But I really do love the Mountain Tough stuff, just because I have access to it on my phone, and that's a big thing. There's
Hmm.
a lot of good gyms out there. I know Zach over at Rocky Mountain Strength in Colorado, great great guy, great gym, and they do that stuff in person for hunters. But since I'm not there, I don't get access to that. But what I like about Mountain Tough is that it's very lower body driven, right? I mean, they obviously do your shoulders and your back, which are a big part of the the pack carrying, but just a ton of lunges, ton of step ups. And I really think that those two are very, very good for any mountain climbing, just because you're working the glutes, you're actually getting that exact same motion that you're going to be doing in the mountains. But if I had to pick which routine I would go with for here, it would probably be like heavy running with strength training, with a mix of Olympic movements, power, like power cleans, things like that. But your squats, your deadlifts, your bench press, and then a lot of running. And I think
Gotcha.
that's sort of kind of driven from watching how Cam has done it. I mean, he's the ultimate runner, right? And
Yeah.
I feel like I've never hunted with the guy, but I'm sure that I couldn't keep up with him in the woods, right?
Hmm.
So I need to run more. That's how I look at it.
Yep.
How about you?
No, I hear you. I'm definitely not a runner. I definitely prefer rucking over running any day.
Yeah.
But there, as long as you're getting your heart rate up and you're incorporating some type of cardio session in, I do think running works for a lot of people. I've never been that kind of person. Even when I do run, I like more of the Spartan style training where it's like you run for a short amount of time, then you have some kind of weightlifting or body, pull-ups or something to go with it. Kind of that cross training style is definitely a lot more up my alley. But
Yep.
the thing is, and then of course the weightlifting. You got to find what works best for you, and that's hard to tell people this is the only thing. And so I appreciate that you're not saying that there is only one, just what works for you. There's with Mountain Tough, I haven't looked at their programming, but I do know some people. I mean, heck, Kyle Herbers, which he's out there in Florida, and
Yeah. He's a
he and I,
beast.
bonded over. Yeah, oh yeah, he's definitely a beast. And he's so humble too.
Yeah.
He's such a genuinely good individual. Not someone who's just
Boastful
trying to
about it.
look
Yeah.
good. Yeah. And so he's down in Florida. He won the first Phorm Outdoors games. I want to say that was last year that he won, and he was doing the Mountain Tough stuff, and he does a lot of the Mountain Tough workouts, and that's a great one. Elk Shape Training also has an online and phone. I don't know if they have an app or not, but Elk Shape Training also has that one's very elk shape, or I guess elk training focus, because he even talks about how they've programmed it to where you're kind of in your peak performance right before September.
That's how
So
Mountain
that's
Tough does it, which is really cool, because,
okay.
postseason strength, and then you start kind of thinning out
Mm.
with more cardio as you get closer. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. So there's different ones out there. First Phorm Outdoors has an app as well that has a lot of good training there. So if you're looking for a regimented style training, I don't think Mountain Tough requires a lot of gym equipment. I think there's some variability in the elk shape training. And then I know with First Phorm, you can list in there, choose the option of you have no gym equipment, you have minimal gym equipment, or you have a full access to a gym. And it'll cater the workouts based on what gym equipment you have. So all of those are great options. I'd say go and pick one. If you have questions about them, you can obviously reach out to me or Cooper, and I'll leave the link down below for their Instagram that you can reach out to them on. But just get started, essentially. Again, if you don't know where to start, go for a 45-minute walk today. You're listening to this podcast, plug it in, go for a 45-minute walk. If you don't have a backpack, I highly doubt that you don't, because there's
Somebody's
a
got a
backpack
JanSport
just about in every.
somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. But if you don't, that's fine. Go for a 45-minute brisk walk, break a sweat, get outside. If it's cold, if it's rainy, if it's snowy, whatever, put a jacket on. But go for a walk, get started today, and then don't do paralysis by analysis trying to figure out what's the best. The best is start today,
Now,
essentially.
and we all can
Exactly.
get in that rut of paralysis by analysis, and I've been there. And one of the things I would say again, there's all these different styles between strength and running and cross. I think if I was going to tell somebody that's never been out there what they need to do to prepare, is to do hard sessions of something that's going to test your mental capability, right? And you overcome it, right? So when
Mm-hmm.
you're done with, you go back and say, okay, wow, I didn't think I was going to be able to finish that. And you go to a CrossFit, or you go to one of these hard classes, and midway through, you're just, you're on the pain train. You're like, I can't make it, but you do, right? And I think that helps when you're in that elevation climb, or you're halfway up,
Mm-hmm.
or you get to the top of a ridge you thought you was at the top, and then there's another one. You've already prepared your mind that, hey, I've been through this. It's gonna suck, but I can get through it, and I'll get to the top. And that's sort of what
Yep.
I like about running is that running, it's a long, like, when you start getting a lot of distance in, there's a time game to it. So you're trying to squeeze in, hour and a half, and um, it gets very boring sometimes, right? I mean,
Mm.
if you're not in your head thinking about something, and that happens a lot, you're starting to count every step. And it's
Mm-hmm.
so easy to stop running when you're running, because all you got to do is just let off the gas. Nobody's out there watching. You're not in a CrossFit class where you got the coaches and your peers pushing you, which is awesome. It's so easy to stop, so it makes it very hard on your mind to run. And that's what a lot of people. I'm not a good runner by any means. I'm a very average, maybe below average runner. Um, but I love the mental check it does for me, you know, and that kind of helps play into how I hunt out west.
Yep. No, I agree. There's a lot of mental that goes into I'd say really any style of hunting. There's different levels of hard. With whitetail hunting, if you've got ADHD and problems sitting still, that can be hard sitting
Most
there.
young boys,
Yeah, right. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. That can be really hard to sit there and wait for something that's going to last 10 to 15 seconds of them walking in and walking out of your life. There that could be difficult. But also coming out west, there's a lot of essentially you don't want to be limited to if there's an elk on the other side of that ridge, you've got 15 minutes left of shooting light, and you can make it to the top of that ridge in 5, and he might be in shooting distance. You don't want your health to be the limiting factor of being able to get that bull or not, right?
100%.
Or if you're cow spike hunting, same thing. You don't want your health and your physical capabilities to be the limit of what you're able to do. You want it to be that you walk away from a hunt, especially again coming from east or in
I
Midwest
was just about to hit
to
on that.
yeah to the west. It's a financial burden as well, uh, more so than for me. Honestly, it's 50
hmm
bucks for my tag
20
to
minutes
go
from
over
the
the counter.
trailhead.
Yeah, and like I mean, for elk, I can take that tag and go down to a limited entry unit that I know well and have great experience, and maybe get a cow spike, or I can drive 3 hours, more towards Colorado, and find bulls out there that aren't maybe bugling as much, and you have to play the mind game with it. Like there's so many different options, but it's very easy for me, compared to someone coming out from the east or Midwest. And so you don't want to walk away from that experience. Even if you don't punch a tag, you don't want to walk away from it saying, I could have done more. I could have woken up a little bit earlier. I could
100%.
have pushed through the soreness. I could have hunted midday instead of going back to the truck and taking a nap.
Yeah.
I could have, and that's going to kill you more than your friends picking at you for not punching a tag, or your wife telling you, I can't believe you spent all that money and you didn't come back with anything, or, all the situations that you're going to run into. What's going to kill you the most is knowing that you left something on the table that you shouldn't have.
There's already, like you said, too many factors at play out there for you to let the one that you're absolutely in full control of to be the reason, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't control the weather. You can't control the animals. There's so many things out there. Um, the training side of it is the one thing that you can control. And, there's a lot to being in shape that helps with, minor injuries that you could get out there working through them. If you had a hard, first 6 to 7 hours of hiking, sometimes you kind of gas out and you're back at camp before, dusk. But
Yeah.
staying out there those 2 extra hours or 3 extra hours till it's completely dark, you have more chance, right? And coming from the East Coast, and we're working now to where we're able, and this is part of the point of the business, was to be able to hunt more. But when you have that 1 week or week and a half, so that's all you have. It is a financial burden. It is a time burden. You've got that 1 week and a half. You got to drive. When we're going to Montana, it's 31 hours one way, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of pressure on yourself to do something. So that should be reason enough to make sure that you, again, the one thing you can control is in your control.
Exactly.
That's your your physical fitness.
Yeah, there's 100%. There's a lot of pros and cons to a lot of the things that you're dealing with on a regular basis, and you definitely want to make sure that you are in control completely of whatever it is that you've got going on. And so that comes down to health and nutrition. So, you mentioned again, mountain tough, running, lifting. What are some things that you've noticed with people? I don't know, people that you've talked with that maybe are some of their hangups. Have we hit on all of them, or are there some other ones out there?
I don't really know. Again, a lot of the folks that I talk to are out here, and it's just the unknown, right? And with the internet now, and you have Mountain Tough, and you have Elk Shape, and you have all these other fitness influencers. It's, again, paralysis by analysis. Which one do I start with, or which one do I go with, right? Because they're all telling me to do different things. And I went through that decision-making process, and the only way you can is exactly how you said. You got to start with something. Start with one of them. Just pick it and go. Give it a month try. If you like it, keep going. If you feel good about it, keep going. If it's not really your thing, it's causing pain, or maybe you can't keep up with it, try something else. So I think the hang up, at least for a lot of folks, is the unknown, and then picking a program. And I work better on a program anyways. I'd rather be able to just log on to my phone or have it already written down when I get there. It just makes it easier and simpler. You don't have to put any thought process into it. You're just getting there. You make sure you're fed. You make sure you got, your right gear on. 45 minutes to an hour, you're done for the day,
I agree. Yeah, and having that routine. I just recorded a podcast. I'm trying to remember how many episodes ago, but go look it up with Dan from Elk Shape. And I
Sure.
asked him, he's been in amazing shape for probably decades at this point.
Yeah, he is.
And
Hmm.
and I just ask, how have you avoided monotony and being bored? And he said, he sat there for a second and he goes something to the effect of, if you're bored with your training, then something about you, either you're not training for the right reasons or you're not doing it right, essentially.
Hmm.
You should never get to the point where you're bored with it. And he's been, again, doing cross training style training for a very long time. Used to compete in CrossFit games, and on a team level, and he's been a trainer for the longest time, and so he has a lot of that knowledge of being able to switch things up. But again, if you ever get to a point where you're starting to feel bored with your training, it could be a multitude of factors, but essentially it could be good to switch it up to a different program and
Yeah.
something that is more oriented, again, towards your goals. Are you wanting, I'm assuming if you're listening to this, you probably are wanting to be a hunter, or you are a hunter wanting to get in better shape. So that, again, those three that we listed off are amazing options for you to be able to go through, and they have dedicated training for people that are wanting to be hunters. If you're wanting to be a runner, that's a different style of training.
Hmm.
If you're wanting to be a bodybuilder, that's a different style of training. I've learned that the hard way personally, that the mountains don't care if the weight on your body is muscle or fat. They don't care. The mountains are going to remind you're still
Yeah.
heavy, and if you've got more muscle on you, then you're obviously burning more oxygen, more calories, and you're going to have to carry more weights because you're going to need more food to be able to maintain the energy level. that you need to function properly with the muscles that you're carrying around. And then if it's the opposite way where you've got too much fat, you know, you're going to be reminded of all that extra weight that you're carrying around. You know, I've been there, and it's not an amazing feeling. You can push through it, but again, how many opportunities did you lose because you were tired? Or are you going to be too tired when you get to full draw? Maybe you push through the pain and the suck of having the extra 20 to 40 pounds on your body, but when you get to full draw, are you going to be able to execute a good shot on
Yeah.
that
Well,
animal?
we all have fuel tanks. And so it's how can you either make that fuel tank bigger, or an analogy of how can you use less of that fuel. Um, yeah, there's a ton of different styles of training. And again, and I've watched Dan's stuff. I love Dan's stuff. And he's a beast. He really is. I mean, obviously with all the stuff hanging in his garage, he's successful at it. So, but yeah, there's a lot to it. And again, it's getting out there and getting started. And I mean, plan the first hunt if you haven't done it yet. That'll really kind of get things moving.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what did it for me. It was like, okay, it's on the board. It's coming whether I'm ready or not. So
Yep.
That could be a really good starting point. Put it on the board. Put it on the calendar to hunt.
Exactly. And find an accountability partner. That's not, you know, especially as men, can be difficult. You kind of want to run as a lone wolf sometimes, but also, you know, there's not to promote Disney or anything, the recent Disney anyway. But, you know, Lion King was one of my favorite movies growing up. And so Mufasa came out recently, talking about, you know, Mufasa, obviously, and his childhood growing up. And one of the songs on there is, if you want to go fast, go alone. And he's like, and Rafiki, the wise, you know, monkey, is who always talks in riddles. He's like, if you want to go fast, go alone. There's the road. Off you go. Have fun. And then he says, you know, but if you want to go far, we'll go together. And it's very true when it comes to, again, with hunting, with fitness, nutrition, you know, having an accountability partner, even just saying something out loud of, you know, how stupid it sounds that you want an extra scoop of ice cream, or you want to eat your feelings that night. You know, it's
Yeah.
much better to call and leave a voicemail on your buddy's phone. If he doesn't answer, just say, hey, dude, you know, I'm struggling right now, this blah, blah, blah. And when you spill it out, it sounds so stupid, you don't end up going and doing it.
You overcome it.
Or, you know, you text somebody, hey, I'm about to dive into XYZ, whatever, bag of chips. You know, you put it out there, and even if you don't get a response, putting it out there makes it real. It doesn't hide it anymore. And in all reality, you know, your outward appearance is in a reflection of inward, you know, goals that you have. And it could be that you don't care about your nutrition. You know, there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. But if you're going around telling people that you want to lose 30 pounds, but you're not losing those 30 pounds, that's false advertisement in a way that you're putting out there, right? You're lying to yourself, and you're lying to those people around you. So that's just something that I agree. You put it on the board, put it out there, have an accountability partner or two, and just get after it, make it happen, you know?
Yeah. Well, I'm lucky. I got so me and my brother, we live on the same road here, and we're all in it together. So it really makes it easy to hold each other accountable, to at least keep progressing. Because I always want to be better than him, and vice versa. You know, as a friendly thing, but that keeps us going.
Don't lie.
And, you know,
it's a sibling.
yeah.
It's a sibling. It's not friendly. It's a sibling rivalry. You're out there saying, I'm going to kick your ass, but I'll pick you up when I'm done. Kind of deal.
And we both have our strengths in certain things. So it, but yeah, we're always competing. You know, we just got back to 5 a.m. workouts this morning, and it was just like, you know, don't be a you know what, let's go work out in the morning. And so it's good to have that accountability for sure. I think that and there's some folks that don't need it. I mean, there's that 1-2% that's just got that mental fortitude to go continuously, is what I mean.
Yeah.
You know, because I can go alone 3-4 months, but you're going to slack up. You know, how do you keep pressing forward, and the partner is a big thing.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Cool. So with that, let's dive into a little bit here of your guys' lineup, what you guys have, as far as clothing goes, and then
Absolutely.
the whole gist behind, like we've talked about, why you formed Oryx Outdoors. Um, I
Yeah.
kind of want to start with why an Oryx. Why is that? Why wasn't it? I know there's obviously elk is kind of a saturated term in the outdoors industry,
Hmm.
but why not elk if you love elk so much, or mule deer or whitetail? Like, why Oryx?
There is, to be honest, there's nothing, you know, super thoughtful in the sense of Oryx about it. It was that I really thought they looked really cool, and I liked the
Hmm.
four-letter word of it. And being that it's an apparel brand, an online apparel brand, the first thing that you got to do is you got to catch somebody's eye, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can have the best quality, you can have the best price, but the first thing when they're scrolling past something through, whether they're searching on Google and they're looking through, 1,000 short options, or whether they're scrolling on Instagram and an ad hits you, it's got to be able to catch their eye, right? So Oryx was really more of like a visual thing for us, how it would appear on a short, how it would look, and we were working with somebody like a designer that helped design this crest, and when he showed it to us with the Oryx, I was like, man, that's it. So, um, but to kind of get behind why you know, we talked about us being in the gym and how hunting changed the trajectory of our life and how it progressed us. Where Oryx was really born out of was that, every day, especially in the summer, you're really getting into season or right before season. So you're working out twice a day, and we're shooting our bows every single day, right? And then we would either, around here we were able to put corn out and things like that. So we would make that a little mini ruck session, right? So we were in our gym shorts all day long, during the week. And we were wearing different brands, Nike, Vuori, Lululemon, and it just didn't feel fitting for us. And it
Mm-hmm.
didn't have the style that we were looking for. And I'll tell everybody this, and I'll tell anybody that asks, you can find good shorts out there. There's high quality short brands out there. I'm not going to question that. But we felt, being in the hunting world, it was such a tight knit community. Like if we wanted to buy boots for any reason, I'm going to one of the local hunting brands first to look at boots. Same with jackets. Same with t-shirts. If I bought a t-shirt, if I just needed a simple t-shirt, I was going to Sitka or Kuyu to look at theirs, right? Because I wanted to support the
Mm-hmm.
hunting industry, right? The people that supported what I did. So that's sort of where Oryx came out. Is like, hey, we need to make high quality product, which we know hunters can appreciate, that look really good, that when they buy it, they can say, hey, we're buying from a brand that has the same values and morals that we do, that's going to support what we care about, right? And I can't say the same thing for the other big brands out there that have those shorts. I don't think that they're in the same. I don't think they have the same mindset and values that you and I do, or
Mm-hmm.
the people that would buy our shorts. So that's sort of where it is that we want to have the training apparel for the outdoorsman, for the sportsman, right? Whether that's eastern hunting, western hunting, fishing, we're all sort of like a brotherhood in this together. And, we want to provide the training apparel for those folks.
I love it. I love it. And that's born out of a pure just desire to make a better training, that you can live the lifestyle of being a hunter without having to support brands that maybe are almost anti-hunting or ignore
Yeah.
hunting altogether. Um, yeah, no, that's really cool. So,
And
oh, go ahead.
one of the story I wanted to touch on, it was really cool. It kind of helped us push into starting this business was we went out to the Dominican Republic for my wife's birthday years ago, and they had this big gym in there, and there was people from all over the world. It's in the Caribbean, and we went in there every morning, did our little workout, and I think it was like the second morning, I seen a guy in there, and I can't remember what brand shirt it was, but he had a T-shirt with an elk on it, and it may have been Kuyu or it may have been a Cam Hanes shirt, I can't remember, but in this area that we were with people from all over the world, I spotted it, right, and I seen it,
Mm-hmm.
and so I went over and I talked to him. I was like, "Hey, man, you a hunter?" "Yeah, man. I can't remember where he lived out west. He's a big elk hunter." And the connection we had right there, never met the guy, we had never talked, whatever, was crazy. It was just, you know, we were able to connect right there, and then we were buds the whole time. We seen each other every morning in the gym. We had drinks out at the pool or whatever. And so no other way would I have noticed who that guy was without something that represented the hunting industry. And that's sort of what our goal is with those shorts. If you've seen somebody in a gym that you don't go to normally, or somebody new and they have an Oryx logo or an Oryx shorts or the Oryx camo, that's a brother of yours. That's how we look at it. Somebody that you could
Love it.
go over and chat with for hours.
Yeah. No, that's
Yeah.
awesome. That's a really good thought behind it, for sure. And there's definitely a lot of hunters out there that are into the gym, and obviously the push is for more hunters and outdoorsmen and women to get into the gym scene. If not just for the fact of staying in shape for that big hunt that you have at the end of the year, each year, or again dragging out the deer of a lifetime.
Yeah.
There's a very common joke of people saying you don't realize how out of shape you are until you're dragging a whitetail out, and that's it's funny, but at the same time I'm like, I don't know, like I mean, I kind of made a joke about it when I went out. I was culling deer off my buddy's property. There's so many does out there, where we were at, and I, there were some smaller ones that I ended up killing, and probably the smallest deer I've ever seen in my life. And I literally picked the two up that I had killed that morning, and one in each hand. I was like, man, this is like a dumbbell carry. Just like, they're so small.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things that, again, you want the outdoorsmen and women to get into some kind of fitness, and I think this is a really good apparel company for that. So again, this is the shirt. On the back of the shirt, for people that are interested in seeing, I don't know if you have one there with you, but it's a bow with cables, like a weightlifting cables, and then the cams are discs from basically the
Bumper
weight
plates,
disc that you would put onto a barbell. I don't know if I can show it without showing the burn hole.
Yeah, you can see it. Yeah, so it was it's sort of just kind of like a thought that we had in our head forever, kind of marrying the two things, the training and the hunting side of it. And man, it took us a long time to nail that drawing, because we had I'm not a digital designer. I can kind of sketch something on paper, but trying to get the thought here to on the shirt, it took a lot of work. But we really thought that came out good.
Yeah, I agree. It's unique design. I haven't seen it anywhere else anyway. So you've got the shirt you've got on, and a couple of other shirts. But as far as what stands out to me are the shorts, as well, that you guys have put out. So these are the 7 inchers, which 7 inches is kind of my favorite length.
Yeah.
5 is getting a little short, but for you runners out there that might like those Ranger panties, go for the 5 inchers. You've got the lined and the unlined, and then you have the runner short, which has a different lining. It's not compression lining. It's just a runner short lining.
It's what your typical running short liner would have, almost like an underwear. It's not a compression. It's more like a whitey tighty underwear.
Like a brief. Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you start out, you had the green, and then you've got this camo, which is pretty awesome. It's got topo. Everyone loves topo lines. It's got the topo, and the gray is almost more of a, I hold it up against this. It's almost got that blue, like the Carolina blue mixed into it's more of a bluish gray. And so then of course the black.
That's our custom camo that we developed, and that's our take on the sort of popular right now black camo, and it has a sort of a green tint to it, just because we did, most of the black camos are just black and gray, real simple. We wanted to kind of still keep the outdoor flair to it.
Mm-hmm.
But kind of diving into our product line right now, uh, we developed those training shorts for about a year and a half. So we hired a design firm um, in early 2023, uh, and so really spent a lot of time designing and learning because this is our first kind of venture into the apparel world. But designing, testing, retesting, making changes uh, until we finally launched back in July of last year. So our goal was to really, our core was to build the training shorts. That's the core of our product line. Right here is just branded t-shirts, kind of something to really marry the brand together. Um, but our goal and what we actually have in the works, and I'd love to share with you now, is having a full product line for the gym, right? So any type of training you're doing, inside, outside, cross training, strength, running, we want to have that product for you so you don't have to go anywhere else to get it. So we just come out of the design and development stage of our winter line, and it's in the manufacturing stage right now. So super excited about that to kind of add some depth to our line. But we have joggers coming out, lightweight hoodies, sweatpants, sweatshirt, running tights, so they're like basically a compression short that goes all the way to your ankle. And then we're going to have some accessory add-ons, obviously beanies, hats, gloves, maybe even venture into socks. But what we won't do is get into a product that we don't feel that we can make, to a standard that we would want to sell to one of our customers. So the winter line here, we've been developing it for probably close to 14 months now. And there's a lot to it. There's so much to it. And I'm not a patient guy. I've always just not had a lot of patience and try to do things quickly. And in this world, the apparel world, things take a long time. So I've had to grow used to that. But I'm okay with that as if the end product is, the quality that we want and the fit and everything like that. So we're excited to hopefully launch that stuff probably by, late August, early September, kind of right in before fall. But we'll be able to share some more stuff with it as we get closer.
Love that. So, there's definitely a lot to the lineup, and I think I would agree that having a good gym short, everyone's got their own taste, right? This is more of again, I like the black camo just because it's more toned down. My wife doesn't get all upset with me when I wear this camo to the gym versus other camo that I might wear to the gym, which I don't wear camo out in public anyway, unless it is the gym or, up on the mountain. Or I'm on my way there, right? Or on my way back. But this camo does look, it looks really nice. I really like, again, we talked about how the logo looks on shorts. So you guys can go over to the website. I'll leave a link down below where you can find the website. But it's kind of bright right here. The sun's shining through the window.
Yeah, you
but
can catch it.
That looks that looks good. And then on the back side, you've got your, Oryx Outdoors spelled out there. Even the thought this is the side of the short, guys, where there's that cutout there. I really like that cutout because sometimes when you get a straight leg hole, instead of having that little cutout, it can not pinch, but almost like constrict a little bit when you're going into squats, or maybe you've got a leg pump from a workout that you've been doing. So that little cutout is very thought out. And then, of course, the zipper pockets. Again, these are the 7-inch shorts. 7-inch, again, is kind of my favorite. That if you want to go shorter, great. But and I do like the unlined personally. But if you want a compression short built in, they've got that as well. They do have the solid green with this black portion here on the green one is their camo. And then I'm trying to remember the other colors that you guys have. Kind of pulled up.
So we have a shell. So the shell is the main short that you see. We have the camo with a black liner. Then we have a black shell with a camo liner, camo waistband. We have a green short with a camo liner, camo waistband. Then we have the black camo. So, and that's going to have the black liner. And, that was just our first product development, the threshold training short. And we've had just such great support from our customers in the hunting community, and sharing with us what they love, sharing with us what they like to see different about it. And that's all great, right? Because when you're developing apparel, everybody is different sizes, the way they like things, whatever it is, right? So at some point you have to get it out into the wild, and it has to get tested, right? And that's what we end up, having to do is, hey, it fits me perfect. This is how I like it, but I'm not everybody. I'm actually very differently shaped than most people. So getting it out in the wild, we've had just really, really good feedback on it. And there's some things that we've got to work on it as well, something that we're already working on in Threshold 2.0. But we're also coming out with an ultra lightweight short as well. One that's so that short is very like over designed. It's sort of heavier. It's got, tons of thread in it. And we wanted, with the zippers and all that, so we wanted to develop a version like that, but a lightweight version of it. It's going to be called the Aerolite. But it's spelled out like A-O-R-O-W. So kind of a nod to the hunting world there.
Yeah.
But it's just going to be a ultra lightweight version of the Threshold short. And we'll also have the Threshold 2.0 coming out. So a lot in the works, a lot in the pipeline, man. And it's just, I want to share it. I want to show everybody right now. It's just, again, this waiting process that I'm not so good at is where we're at.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing that a lot of people don't understand about product development is, how far ahead you have to be thinking versus what the customer gets to see.
Yeah.
And so I would agree. It's good, to have support. And also, if you guys get a pair of these shorts or a shirt or something, you have some feedback, don't just come off and say whatever, be completely negative if you don't like it, but provide some actual criticism of like, hey, this is what I personally like and this is why. And then Cooper and his brother can take that into consideration and say, hey, maybe we're missing a group of individuals that is this kind of body style or whatever. But don't just come in and be like, oh, I didn't like blah, blah, blah. And that's it. Like that doesn't help any company when you do that.
No. And we've only had one customer that's really, acted a fool in my opinion about something. But I tell you what, again, we've had a lot of great feedback, and I'm the one behind the computer. Every review we get, I answer and I talk to that person, and it's, again, like you said, any feedback is good feedback for us. It really is.
Yep. That's awesome. Okay. I think we've kind of hit on just about everything that I was wanting to touch on. Again, I highly recommend people going and picking up at least a pair of shorts. You can't have enough gym shorts. Go and pick up a pair of these gym shorts and the Threshold shorts. Or if you like the bow design, that's the one that really stood out to me was the bow design. You just added a new color to that shirt, didn't you?
Yeah. I actually had it on today at my workout. I got it right here.
Oh yeah, the black and white.
So it's got like it's just black and white.
Yep. There we go. Perfect.
One of our buddies was asking about that. We said, let's do it. And we've got another shirt that we're coming out with. And again, the branded T-shirt thing that's not our game. It's just another way to marry the company to the hunting world, in our opinion. But listen, Jonathan, thanks for having me on. I've been following you for years now. I reached out to you. You were super awesome kind of in the beginning, not knowing who we were and willing to help, kind of get our name out there. And we've had that reaction from a lot of people in the hunting community, and that's what I love about it. But we're super excited to grow within it, super excited to share what we have coming out. And again, if you guys need anything, you said you're going to leave, the information in the link below. Would love to hear from anybody that has any questions.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to leave down below, guys, where you can find Oryx Outdoors Instagram. You can reach out to Cooper directly there, or if you want to go over to the website, you can use code RedBeard15. You can save money on any of the apparel that we've shown here. The shorts, again, my favorite are the 7-inch unlined. If you want a liner, go with the liner or the compression liner. And then, of course, if you like the shorty shorts, then go with the 5s. If you want to show off a little bit more of those thighs. My ginger whiteness reflects a little too much of the sunlight if I wear those. So my wife gets mad at me. She said if I ruck around with those, I'm attracting too many eyeballs. I disagree with that. I think I'm blinding too many eyeballs, but whatever. With that being said, go over and check it out, guys. Again, the links will be down below. Cooper, I appreciate your time today. And we didn't even get into the ranch that you guys are working on right now. So maybe that'll be in a future episode. But go and check out what they have running on Instagram, guys, and the work they're putting into their whitetail ranch and what they've got going on up there. With all that being said, like I always say, guys, get out, live your life, and love it.